Hello and welcome to Total IELTS. Peter here, and in today's video I'll be looking at IELTS Academic Writing Task 1, how to avoid mistakes and increase your band score in task achievement. Let's start with a simple and effective strategy we should all use. Some students make the mistake of not taking the time to study the diagram. This is a vital strategy. Always spend a few minutes before you write anything, so you can understand the task statement, the diagram title, and most of all, the information included in the diagram. For example, these pie charts show energy sources in Australia in 2008 with predictions for 2030. You can read a Band-Aid sample answer for this one by clicking on the link in the description below. By studying the diagram, you will notice the dates, so that will dictate the main grammar. And the main tenses for 2008 will be in the correct past tenses, and for 2030, phrases such as gas is expected to increase from 22.9% in 2008 to 32% by 2030. Another mistake to avoid is not including an overview. The overview is a summary of the information in the diagram, and every type of diagram should have a unique overview. You can see examples of overviews of each diagram type by following the link in the description below. If you want to achieve a minimum band 6, you must include an overview. A relevant overview is attempted. If you have no overview, you'll get a band 5 in task achievement. So an overview for the pie charts here would be, overall, 2 of the categories are predicted to decrease, while 4 are anticipated to increase, and 1 is replaced by a new category. Moving on to the next one, and that's description with data. For diagrams and charts that show numerical information, you must include the figures. If you make this mistake, you'll get a minimum score of band 5 in task achievement. There may be no data to support the description. For example, take a minute here to compare these two descriptions, and you can pause the video if you like. The second one doesn't include the full data, so always include the figures in your descriptions of the main features. Up next is what's called in the band descriptors, the recounting of detail is mainly mechanical. So what does that mean? Well, this mistake happens when students try to describe every single feature rather than selecting the main features. Not only is that unnecessary, but sometimes almost impossible to do in 20 minutes because of the large amount of information in the diagram. For example, in this line graph here, if you try to describe every single increase, decrease, and no movement, you'll get a band 5 for recounting detail mechanically. So only select and describe the main features, and for this diagram, that's the greatest increases, decreases, and when there was no change. And moving on, and again, a band 5 is given in task achievement when you include irrelevant information or material. The inclusion of irrelevant material detracts from the task achievement. Usually this happens when students give their personal opinions, reasons, or explanation for the information in the diagram. For example, the category of solar stood at 1.30% in 2008, but it has been predicted that it will no longer be used by 2030 because it is an inefficient energy source. This opinion here is totally irrelevant, so never give your opinion or explanation for any information in the diagram. State the facts only. Likewise, a band 5 is given in task achievement when your description includes inaccurate data. The inclusion of inaccurate information detracts from the task achievement. For example, By 2030, it is forecast to be replaced by geothermal energy at 3.40%, which is not correct. So always double check that the figures you report in your answer are accurate. And finally, a simple common sense strategy that will help you avoid making these mistakes. And that's always check your answer. Take a few minutes before moving on to task 2 to reread your report, and when doing so, make sure that you haven't made those mistakes. The final checklist. Always study the diagram before writing anything. Take a few minutes, you have got time. Read the description, the diagram title, and take note of the type of information and data included. Include an overview or a summary for every type of diagram. Click the link below for the description of every type of overview. For diagrams that have numerical information, that's numbers, always include accurate data with your descriptions. Don't try to describe every single feature of certain types of diagrams. You don't have the time, and you'll get a band 5 in task achievement. Never include personal opinions, reasons, or explanations for the information in the diagrams. Facts only. And finally, always give your report a final check before you move on.